Hello, welcome to our Unit 7 discussion board here on our American History 1 course. And this week we could tie into our scholarly activity you guys have going on where if you decide Eli Whitney's the event you're going to pluck off that timeline, this will be right in your wheelhouse. If not, you could talk about some of these other technologies and I encourage you to diversify your interests, learn new things. That's what you're here to do. This idea that many believe that Eli Whitney's cotton gin can be blamed for the extension of slavery in America. And its most basic level, that argument goes like this. We had seen cotton becoming grown in all other parts of the world, particularly in British India, but also we have a huge international cotton organization going, and it was becoming more and more expensive to grow in the United States. As that happens, all of a sudden Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin or the cotton engine that's going to radically change the amount of cotton that can be processed and drastically reduces the amount of time, so it increases the need for slave labor in the United States, or labor from enslaved persons. This idea, we see this, and I'm going to ask you to continue on this question, this idea that in this case, you can look at kind of how a technology has an effect on American culture and American outcomes, right? We could see how the cotton gin is a continuity and change kind of mechanism, the idea that it brings in this new technology, which is a change, but then it exacerbates and intensifies a problem that was already there. The idea that this rift is developing between states that depend on the labor of enslaved persons and other states that have modernized economies and started to kind of work in other ways. So as we kind of look at this, I want you to consider a few different things. First, how did the growth of technology have an effect on American culture? And then how do you see that happening today? We've all just lived through technological revolution. Many of you, like myself, probably remember the first time you ever heard about the internet. I remember being very skeptical. Somebody was telling me that I could go down to the local library and I could start talking to people in other places through a computer. Blew my mind, and yet here we are. I'm recording this video and you're going to be able to see it wherever you are, and hopefully it'll help you put together a more quality response as you work through this. So we've seen how technologies have changed our culture, and we can see this manifest itself in all sorts of different ways. You don't have to watch the news very long at night to see how technology is altering all sorts of things throughout our society. Some of you have seen this in your professional careers. Some of you have seen it in our political system in terms of we can see kind of all these different entities weighing in on political issues or kind of trying to manipulate our political system in different ways. We can also see this just in terms of your own relationships. I think about how technology has strengthened my relationships in some ways, and other ways I'm sure it's undermined them at times. So think about that question, the idea that how can you see kind of these technological changes manifesting themselves in society, and how Eli Whitney's cotton gin was one such invention. I also want you to think about empathy and moral judgment. That's our skill for the week, the idea that I want you to show empathy and try to put yourself in Eli Whitney's shoes. The idea that he created this thing that was meant to make life easier and could help process cotton more quickly, then would lead to an extension and expansion of slavery in the United States, is something that had to be really difficult for him to grapple with. So think about that and then pass some moral judgment and kind of look at this achievement critically while trying to put yourself in Eli Whitney's shoes. This week, I got one book for you. I've been trying to show you at least a book a week. Ransom and Such, Roger L. Ransom, Richard Such, wrote this book, and it's actually about Reconstruction. This is a little bit later, but I think you can still see the ripples of Eli Whitney's cotton gin here. And this is one of the most well-revered works of economic history ever written. It's incredibly quantitative. It looks at very critically what kind of data is out there to assess the situation in the American South following the close of the American Civil War. This is just really an interesting book that I think starts to put numbers to some of these things that we're talking about, like the expansion of enslaved persons, to look at these populations and how they work, what kind of productivity they're able to put together, especially after the war ends. But you can also see shades of what's happening after Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin. So Again, as always, bring your best effort here. Have a meaningful conversation with each other. Try to learn something new. Try to inspire somebody else to learn something new. And just overall, do your best as we finish out the course here. Good luck this week.